Welcome into this week's edition of the Co-Lin Coaches Show. We're going to have women's basketball up first, and joining me right now is the women's head coach, Dr. Britta Stephens. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Coach, obviously, like we talked about the week before, a little bit of an oddball week. You had a home-and-home with South Ark, and fortunately, you won both of them. The first one, the home game here, was on Tuesday, November 7th, and it was an absolute thriller of a win. Season opener, go to overtime. Your team battled throughout the whole thing, but you talk about how you felt like they played.
Well, it was an odd week. You usually don't play somebody on Tuesday and then turn around again and play them on Thursday. From a coach's perspective, the prep was easy. We only had to make minor adjustments, so that was nice. Man, what a way to open the season at home. Our kids played. I told them, I said, you were absolutely relentless all night. You just, every time South Ark made a big play, we would make a big play, and we would make another big play or a big defensive stop. I didn't think we guarded very well. I thought they shot it unbelievably well. In fact, I thought they shot it a lot better than they were going to when watching them in film and stuff. They had one kid that was 7 for 10 from the three. Those are like video game numbers. I told my kids, I said, y'all, Steph Curry doesn't shoot it that well most nights. So she had a really, really good night, but I was really proud of how hard we fought, how well we played. We didn't turn the ball over. We had one kid, Ashanti Fleming, had 31 points. I mean, that's unheard of numbers for her as well. We had 4 or 5 kids who had season highs or career highs. So it was just a really good night and a really good way to open the season.
You go back and you look at the game, and you talk about that hard fight showing all night. First quarter, you're down 20-19. You battle back. In the second quarter, probably one of the biggest differences in the game, I think you shot 62.5% from the field,
wow.
And that led to a 24-13 outscoring. That's kind of when you took the lead right there. Again, I think the girls just fought the whole time and just continued to show great fight, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Third quarter, you come out and you continue to battle them, and then the fourth quarter, that's kind of, I think, when they kind of really shot the lights out. And you're tied 80-80, and it's your home win. What's the message to the girls going in? Because it's uncharted territory for everybody. It's only the third game of the year, and you're already in overtime,
right.
And it's the home opener.
Yeah, and I thought in the fourth quarter we went through a scoring drought, which kind of put us to where they could tie the game. We didn't score as well. They hit a big shot late. We come back and have to hit a big shot late to send it to overtime. I thought at the end of overtime the kid gets the rebound and goes back up, and I thought, oh, it's good. The game's over with. And that's what I told our kids. I said, you can't stop playing. You got to play until the last whistle. But I think I tried to be calm. I was not calm on the inside, but I knew they had never been in this situation, and I think that was so key for them, was just for me to stay calm and for Coach Holt to stay calm, and I thought we did a good job of that, and I thought they did a good job of not panicking and stuff. And when we got to overtime, I said, yeah, this is fun. Let's play a little more. I'd rather play than practice. So the overtime game put us in a situation that I can't put us in practice. We have practice players and we do all these things, but I can't simulate that in a practice. So that game gave us experience. So down the road, if we get to a tournament next week or we get to a conference game in January, we've had that experience. And some of our other teams, some of our other opponents may not have had that experience. So it's so valuable. I didn't like that it went into overtime. I wanted to win it in regulation, but looking back on it now, I'm grateful for that opportunity.
And if you go and look at the box score, I think the big thing that will really stand out is in overtime, you outscore somebody 13-8, and you shoot 90% from the free throw line. Just shot lights out from the free throw line, and that was probably the big difference. When you outscore someone 13-8 and 9 of the points come from the free throw line, your girl stepped up big time in overtime.
Yeah, to be able to shoot 90% from the free throw line in overtime on tired legs, because we're playing, have a rotation of about 7 or 8, maybe 9 players, so on tired legs in overtime to come in and do that, that's kind of a statement, and that's kind of a statement to them of how hard they've worked and how much time they're putting in shooting extra and shooting free throws, and those are so important. And that's one thing I felt like, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Thursday night when we went to South Arkansas, we only shot 46% from the free throw line, and I felt like that was an Achilles heel for us in that game. Had we shot, even if we had shot 60% or 68%, we win the game by 10 points instead of winning it by 5 points. So super proud that they were able to do that in overtime, and I think it showed a level of focus and a level of concentration, because that's pressure going to the line in overtime. These free throws matter, and I was really pleased with how well they just stepped up and handled that.
We talked about the career performances as well, too. We'd be remiss if we didn't highlight those. Ashanti Fleming, 31 points. That's a girl who we talked to, averaged 4 points a game last year, comes out and just shoots lights out and came up with big play after big play for you. Kayla Howard, 13 points for a career high. Again, maybe that doesn't pop off the box score, but for her, that was a huge night, and, overcame some early foul trouble in the first half as well, too. Sierra Myers comes out career high in rebounds, has a double-double for you. 17 rebounds, 15 of those defensive. Really stopped a lot of momentum, I thought, for South Art. 14 points for her as well, too. You also had a couple of, that freshman, Mila Harbor, had her first double-digit scoring game of the year, had 10 points. And, another one that we talked about, LaShanti Payne, 7 points, 9 rebounds. Not a double-double.
Close.
Doesn't necessarily pop off the box score, but was just a leader for you throughout that whole game. We'll go ahead and go to Thursday. Thursday, you go on the road over to El Dorado, Arkansas, and you beat them over there too. But again, you kind of had to stave off a late surge by them. They really came alive there in that fourth quarter. I think they did some traps that kind of had, got your girls in some trouble and those kind of things. They were able to transition very well. But talk about how the girls played on the road.
Again, I think they were relentless. When you get on a bus and have to drive 4 hours to play, that's very difficult no matter who you're playing. And I like doing that early in the season too, because when we have to go to Itawamba, when we have to go to Northeast and Colma, these things are going to arise when we play in conference play. So this is preparing us for conference play. So that was the first thing I told them when I went in the locker room on Thursday night. I'm really proud of you for coming on the road and getting a win after driving that far. And they're a good team. That was not a pushover team that we played. I do not feel like we played with the same level of maturity at South Arkansas that we played with here at home. It was a rough game. The officiating was at times questionable, and I think it was at times questionable for both us and for them. I didn't think they were great or horrible either way, but we didn't deal with that in a mature way, and that was my message to them at the end of the game. Learn to deal with adversity, mature, grow up. Things are not always going to go your way. We're going to turn the ball over, but you got to play the next play. You're going to walk with the ball. So I didn't think we played with a great level of maturity. I was pleased that we were able to come out with a win. In the fourth quarter, we did go through another scoring drought, but defensively, we were unbelievable defensively Thursday night, and that's what they shot, like 28% from the field. And I told them, I said, that's got nothing to do with them. That has everything to do with you and how well you made the adjustments that Coach and I asked you to make, and just what a good job you did. We had trouble scoring the ball. We were not as good offensively Thursday night, but because we were good defensively, it made a huge impact.
Yeah, I think if you go and you look at the box score, again, you outscored them for 3 quarters. Like I said, the big quarter was the fourth quarter. Outscored 20-13 there. But fortunately made just enough plays to be able to hold on to that lead. And you're talking about the defense. One thing that really stuck out to me was looking at it again. South Ark came down here and shot 48% from 3 on Tuesday. You turned around and they only shot 15% on their home court. So defense travels in every sport, especially in basketball. When you look at the box score again, players that'll stand out, some of the names we've already talked about. Sierra Myers with her second straight double-double, 14 and 12. Ashanti had 13 points. LaShanti Payne had 11. So a little bit better scoring game for her. I think she had about 5 rebounds for you as well, too. Mila Harbor nearly misses out on her first double-double, had 9 points and 11 rebounds. The freshman's really, really growing up on it. I think another freshman that stands out to me is Kirsten Haynes. She only had 3 points, but she found ways to affect the game in other stats. She led the team in assists and steals with 7 and 5 and had 5 rebounds. I think she stepped up for you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I thought she played well last night. I thought she did a really good job coming in defensively and guarding, and that's not really something that we've kind of known her for, but she did a good job of that last night. Kayla Howard, I don't know what the stat line says she scored. She was unbelievable on defense last night, and she embraced that role. And she embraced it on Monday night or Tuesday night. She looks at me and said, Coach, let me guard her. And she embraced that role, and I think that's going to be vital for us moving forward, that she can do that. Sequoia Bolden is a kid who didn't show up on the stat sheet. She came in at the 4. This is a 5'7" kid who's coming in and playing a post position for us, but we needed her to come in and guard their post kid, number 11, who can put it on the floor, who can shoot it. And when her number was called, she stepped up big. At the end of the game, Coach and I are going, let's play offense for defense, putting Kirsten in on offense because she gives us a spark and she handles the ball for us, and putting Q in for defense because she can guard and really lock down and help us. So a lot of things that didn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet that pushed us through to the win.
So a very good week for the Lady Wolves. This upcoming week, you're going to go back to a place you're really familiar with, but you're going to be on the opposite sideline this time. I know you talked going into last week, it was going to be different being on the opposite sideline in Mullen Gym. Now you get to go back to Southwest, but you're going to be on the side that you may not be as familiar with, but you're facing off against 2 opponents. You've got LSU Eunice on Monday, November 13th, and Southern University Shreveport on Tuesday, November 14th. Both those games at 1 p.m. as part of the Southwest Coca-Cola Classic. What do you know about the Lady Bengals first?
Not a ton. I'm not one to look ahead. I like to take them one game at a time. And we have to look ahead a little bit more next week because we're playing back-to-back. We'll play LSU Eunice on Monday and then Southern Shreveport on Tuesday. We've got film on them. I started watching a little bit this morning. They've got some returners. Tiara Silvas, who was a good player for them last year, she's back. They've got a point guard who's back. They're running a lot of 5-out motion stuff, which kind of some similar things that we run, so that fits us. We should be able to guard them. I think we can press them a little bit. Defense is going to be who we are. That's how we generate offense, and that's kind of going to be our calling card this season, so I think we'll use that. Other than that, I don't know a lot about them yet. That's Coach and I this afternoon. We're going to start digging into them. I don't know anything about Shreveport. I've got one game film on them, and we'll get to that. When we get to that, I told Coach, I said, let's win Monday, and then Shreveport plays Southwest Monday night. I'll probably stay and scout the game, let her come on back and let them get off their feet, and then Tuesday morning we'll get up and try to go win again. But it'll be tough just because those are two good teams. It's on the road. It's a 1:00 game, so now we got to get up. We got to go to class. We got to eat. Everything about our day is a little different. It's not a 5:30 tip like we're used to, so that just makes it a little more challenging. We're a slow-moving group of human beings. We kind of have to get going, and that's okay. That's just part of being a player, but a 1:00 tip will be a little bit more challenging. There probably won't be a lot of fans there. That's just how it goes when you play at 1:00, so that'll be a challenging thing. But I expect us to come out, and I expect if we play with the toughness and the relentlessness that we've played the last two games, I see no reason why we can't win both of these.
Absolutely. A Southern Shreveport game, if you look at common opponents, they've played that South Ark team up there and came away with a 2-point win. So it seems like a Southern Shreveport team that's going to be very game, and an LSU Eunice squad they're always tough. It doesn't matter if you play them neutral site there or at your place, they're always tough. So another exciting week coming up here for the Lady Wolves. They go 2-0 against South Ark, and we'll have LSU Eunice and Southern Shreveport on the schedule coming up. That'll wrap it up this week for women's basketball. Stay tuned as we talk to some of our other coaches about some of the past and upcoming games they have coming up. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And joining me for the first time on the Coaches Show is our head men's basketball coach, Coach David Sanders. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Coach, obviously, you're in the middle of a little bit of a 12-day break right here. You started off the season 4 games in 4 days. Overall, how do you feel about how the guys played during that stretch?
I thought we shot the ball poorly, but other than that, I thought we played pretty well. We some shots we normally make and have been making in practice and in some of the scrimmage games didn't fall for us. But overall, I thought the guys' effort was pretty good, and clean up a few things on defense and get a few more guys healthy. We had 2 guys, a starter and our 6th man out for these 4 games. So getting them back in practice now should help us a whole lot.
Coach, obviously, we'll go back to that very first one. You started off the year. You got to start at home. You played Baton Rouge Community College back on November 3rd. You beat them 89-72. You trailed at halftime 37-29. That'll kind of be a running feature for these first 4. But, it kind of felt like in the first half you kind of had a team. We talked about it in the preseason interview and all those kind of things. You had a brand new team this year, 13 new guys, all of them new here, 11 freshmen, and it really kind of felt like that first half. That's kind of what you saw there. Yeah,
another thing that's kind of been plaguing us early is low number of assists. You got guys who really hadn't figured out how to play well together yet, and really hadn't found each other in their spots. And then when they did find each other, like I said, the shots just weren't falling. So, definitely a new group, and it's going to take a little while for them to gel. But I think that stretch right there really is going to help us down the line.
And I think one thing that people will hear, you won 89-72. You're trailing by 8 at halftime. You turn it around and you have a 17-point victory, a 25-point string. And for a group that was still trying to figure it out, that's an impressive victory, I feel like. And you look at the box score and you go, who are the big guys? I think the first one that really sticks out to you is Emmanuel James. E-Man had his first game. He gets his first double-double, 22 points, 12 rebounds. Devin Carter shared the team lead in points with 22, and Dakota Hilliard, I think, was huge for you. He gave you 16 points off the bench.
Yeah, Dakota, we really challenged Dakota at halftime to step up and be more aggressive, and he pretty much got all his stats in the second half. He played really well, and we shot the ball a lot well. I think we ended up scoring 62 points in the second half, so that normally helps. Having 29 at halftime is definitely not how we like to play. But coming out our first home game, I thought the guys had a few jitters and everything. We were able to calm them down at halftime and come out and play well.
And then you go the next day, you go on the road, you go over to Marianna, Florida, you go play at Chipola, and you play Chipola in the first one. They're number 11 in the nation. And this one, you lose 95-73. You were trailing 52-34 at half, and I think I talked to you. You felt like you played a little bit maybe better in the second half. It still wasn't a complete win, though. I think they only outscored you by about 4 points in that one. But talk about how the guys played against one of the top teams in the nation.
Well, I thought it was a great learning experience for my guys. We were fighting with them early, had a lot of back and forth moments with them in the first 10 minutes, and Devin Carter, we depend on the score a lot of points for us this year, was 0 for 11 at halftime, and he struggled in the game with 4 for 20. So I thought, for us to put up almost 80 points, in a game where our best player really didn't play well, I thought we played well offensively. Now defensively, they were very hard to guard. They are the typical basketball team. Somebody that I really want my guys to see because they didn't care who scored. They moved the balls, had several possessions where they made 7 or 8 passes in the possession, and the guy got a wide open shot. So, they play the way that I want my guys to play. That's why you schedule games like this, so you can kind of show them, what they really need to be striving for.
And the leading scorer in that one was Corterius Scott. That's the name we're going to talk about for another game as well, too. But, I think he's a guy that I think he's kind of surprised y'all with his early play this year. But talk about how he played in that one, how he's kind of really embraced that point guard role and really kind of makes everything run for you right now.
Right now, Corter's our best player. He's playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. He doesn't really care if he scores or not, and he just picks his spots. And he's a guy that, is very even-keeled. He doesn't turn the ball over. And he's definitely been one of our no doubt about our biggest surprise of the season because he was a guy that we were looking at as a backup early on, and now I think he's going to have a chance to be first-team All-League.
And so you go to the next day. This is your third game in 3 days. And I think a lot of people at this point, you would look at this one and maybe think this might have been the worst game that you would play just because you played Chipola the night before. It's a quick turnaround. But actually, it was a pretty close game. You lost to Pensacola State 66-63. You played them over at Chipola on the 5th of November. You were trailing 33-31 at half. Got outscored by 1 point in the second half, and that's what led to the 3-point loss. But talk about how you feel about how the guys played in that one.
I had a chance to watch Pensacola the night before when we played Chipola, and I thought they were really well coached. I thought they were big. I thought they played hard. And I thought it would be a very challenging game for us, just like Chipola was. And the guys came out and played well. We had some guys make some shots, and we played really good defense against them. And I thought we just came up a couple baskets short there. I think we had a random play at the end for Von Johnson to take a shot. He had just tied it up with a 3, and he turned down the shot and should have taken it, and he didn't, and tried to go make a play, and it didn't happen. But overall, I thought the guys played really well, and I was proud of the effort.
And Von Johnson was the leading scorer there, led the team in points and rebounds, had his first double-double of the year, 18 and 10. In these first 4 games, it's kind of a mix of guys that are kind of leading the way for you. It's not just one that's kind of been your leading scorer. Devin Carter, another game where didn't shoot the ball spectacularly well, finished with 14 points. And another Emmanuel James, narrowly missing a double-double, 11 points and 7 rebounds. It feels like those 3 – and, with the mixing of a few others are really kind of the core that's going to make everything run for you.
Yeah, I think it's gonna start with Emmanuel. He's definitely got a little Dylan Cannaville in him. He's a really quick player around the basket. He's a great athlete, and he's a guy that we're looking to get a double-double every night, and he's been playing really well for us. Like I said, Court Scott been our catalyst at the point, and we just got to get Devin Carter and Von Johnson and Ishmael Rasheed shooting the ball a little bit better. Those are my wings, and we're looking for them to kind of get it going here. But one thing I know about those guys, they're gonna get it going. They're not gonna be in a shooting slump the whole year. So I think with us sitting here with 2-0 in the region with those guys not playing as well as they can, I think we're in a good spot.
And so you bounce back. You mentioned 2-0 in the region. This is where the second region win came from. You played Delgado at home on November 6th, and you beat them 83-75. Again, as we said earlier, running theme for these first 4 games, you trailed at halftime, 38-31. Talk about the first half. It seemed like the guys – it seemed like you were seeing a team that really was on their 4th game, maybe playing with a little bit of tired legs, but they were able to play through it. But talk about what you saw out of them in the first half.
Well, like I said, I think that was the main thing, not only having 4 games in 4 days, but having 2 of those days be travel days. I think kind of wore the guys down a little bit. And for a group that's never done anything like that before, I was proud of how they responded because, I think sometimes in those games, I normally expect guys to play well in the second half and play well in the first half and struggle in the second half, but we did just the opposite. So, for them to be able to pick it up down the stretch shows me they have resolve, shows me that they really want to win, and they'll fight through that adversity to go ahead and get the job done.
Talk about playing well in the second half. Scored 52 in the second half. Held Delgado to 57 or 37. Excuse me there. That's a 15-point swing for that win. Again, names that stand out to you, Emmanuel James. E-Man with his second double-double in 4 games. He had a career-high 23 points and 10 rebounds. But Devin Carter was the lead scorer in this one. He led all scorers in this one with 31 points. If you looked at his shooting, you wouldn't think, how did he score 31? But I think if you go and look at it, he went to the free throw line a bunch of times in a game where I think y'all went about 40 times.
Mm-hmm.
And he has 31 points for you. And then Cortez Scott, nearly missed a double-double. 14 points, 9 assists. Also had 5 rebounds and led the team with 5 steals. Again, he just finds ways, even though he's not scoring 20-plus points, he's finding ways to affect the game in different ways.
Yeah, I think Court is the prototypical Division I point guard, a guy that can make shots and make plays to score when he needs to. He understands that the game runs through his other players, and so he's not selfish with the ball. And also, like I said, he really affects the whole stat sheet with steals and rebounds. For a point guard to go get you 5-6 rebounds is huge. And one of the things I love about him the most, he's not a turnover-prone guy. He doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. So, his assist-turnover ratio should be really good all year. And so having that guy, somebody that we know we can count on at the point, is really, really important. We get our other point guard back. Right now, he should be able to play this next game, and Will Grayson. So we're looking forward to getting him back as our backup point guard, and and also Kason Saunders, who played really well in the preseason for us. He's coming back now as a 4-5 man that can really help us out and give us some of the stuff that Dakota's giving us. And
talk about the play of Devin as well too. I know we've talked about how he hasn't shot the ball spectacularly well, and if you looked at his shooting percentage, it's admittedly not great yet, but we all think he's going to be able to get it turned around. But you say that, and he scored 82 points in 4 games, so scoring wise, not off to a bad start. You just would obviously like to see the shooting percentage go up.
Yeah, Devin is a guy that he's coming out of program in Alcorn State where he didn't really get to shoot the ball a whole lot. Great program. But he didn't really get a chance to do that. So he redshirted a year, and he played last year very sparingly. So he's basically been out of basketball, and as far as games go, for 2 years. So he's shaking off a little rust, but he's shooting, I think, maybe 90 from the free throw line, and he's getting there at a high clip. So that's also helping his points and helping us stay in the bonus. I think we shot 40-something free throws against Chipola, which was big for us. We were sitting there wondering how we lost by 20 and shot up 40 free throws. I think they only shot like maybe 14 or 15. So, we're doing a good job of getting to the line. And once we, clean up a few other things, that's huge. I think that team last year was one of the top 10 teams in the country in free throws attempts they made. So, it's important that, it's a lot of different things happen when you get to the line. You get the other team in foul trouble. You kind of back off some of their aggressiveness, and at the same time, it allows you to play a little bit harder. So, I think that's a great thing for our team to be able to get to the line that much. And I'm looking forward to us being able to get Devin over that hump as far as the shooting goes. I know you had the game in the preseason where he had 40 and hit like 12 threes. So it's in him, and he's definitely capable of it. We're just waiting on it to, show up in the game time.
Coach, obviously your next game is going to be on the road this upcoming Saturday. A little bit of a different thing. We talked with Coach Stephens about how they had a home-and-home with South Ark in the same week. You've kind of got the same thing, except they're 12 days apart. Not something else you don't see very often happen at this level. But, again,
with our rotation being a little deeper now, I think it should bode well for us on the road this Saturday.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us. That'll wrap up the men's basketball segment for this week. Again, men will be on the road at Delgado on Saturday, November 18th, and then they'll have the Thanksgiving week off, and then they'll be back home the next week. Come out and support them then. We'll give you all the information for that on all of our social media as we have that available for you. Until then, stick with us through this break. Coming up is head football coach Glenn Davis. We're going to talk about the Wolves' MACCC semifinal win and getting into the championship game coming up this Saturday. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through that break. And joining me now is head football coach Glenn Davis. Coach, thanks for joining me as always.
Glad to do it.
And Coach, obviously we get to keep talking about football because we just keep finding ways to win. And your guys are coming off probably the most dominant win they've had all year. You beat the number 10 ranked Rangers of Northwest in the MACCC semifinal 48-14. Just talk about how the guys played.
I mean, I thought we played great defensively. We scored a touchdown on defense, and those guys, we pretty much made them as one-dimensional as we could, and that was their goal going into the game, was to make them have to throw the football, and they did a great job of doing that. Offensively, I thought our guys up front probably played their best and most complete game that we've had all year. Rushed for almost 270 yards rushing, and didn't give up a sack. And anytime you can do those two things, you've controlled the line of scrimmage. And those were things that we talked about all week, was controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of football and being extremely physical. And I thought we did that.
Coach, obviously, we'll start with our impact players. And again, it starts with the quarterback, Devon Todd. Another game, 13 for 23, 158 yards. Didn't find the end zone through the air. Had the one interception. Did find the end zone on the ground, though. He had 5 carries for 48 yards. Talk about how Devon played. It really felt like he managed the game really well, despite, missing a few connections here and there that might could have led to some touchdowns, but still felt like he had a really good game.
It did. I mean, there was one that, if we possibly could have made a catch on that was a little bit behind him. Early in the game, he got turned and twisted and was kind of having a little bit of, abdomen problem of turning and throwing the football. And I think that's kind of when he missed Richard that time, that was some of it there, but he kept playing through it. Didn't say anything to anybody about it until after the game, and so that's the kind of leader he's been all year.
And we'll talk about the guy who had the big game. It was Johnny Daniels. Another game where 2 out of the last 3 we've talked about him having career highs. He had 14 rushes for 163 yards. That's a career high. He had 4 touchdowns, the second time in 3 weeks he's hit it. I think one thing we talked about the last time, you hadn't had anybody ever rush for 4 touchdowns in a game. He's now done it 2 of the last 3 weeks.
Right.
5 receptions for 43 yards for 206 all-purpose yards, and that's a career high and the first time he's ever gone over 200 all-purpose yards. Johnny just absolutely had a career game.
He did. He played extremely well. Like I said, the guys up front had a lot to do with that, and the 80-yard run he had, it just kind of popped open and he hit through it, and the other runs were extremely well blocked. Sometimes he didn't get touched until he was 5 or 6 yards downfield, and those are things that you can kind of really look at when you watch film and see where contact's made. And to me, that's the big telltale sign right there.
I think another guy who had a really good game, he didn't get in the end zone, but he ran the ball really well for you, was Trey Minor. Trey came in, 14 rushes, 56 yards. Hadn't had the yardage lately. He has had the touches, it seems like, but it seems like he was able to find some gaps for you and really kind of spell Johnny in times when you needed him to.
Trey's done well. He's gotten better and better all year, and his things that he's had to work on, like pass protection and those things that he just didn't have to do in high school. So every day sometimes is a learning day for him, and but he's been great attitude wise, and he's worked hard at it, and he's been a good change of pace guy when we sub him in for Johnny.
And we've talked about this group all year. It's the defense. It's as a unit, they just seem to keep playing better and better and better. And this was probably one of the best efforts they've had all year. Defense had 7 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and they had 6 forced turnovers, including two forced fumbles and 4 interceptions. And I believe held the Rangers to about 240 yards. That's one of their season lows, if not a season low for them. Just talk about how that group really came out and set the tone really from the start.
They did. I mean, it started on the kickoff. Jerron Manning hits the guy and they fumbled it, and we recover it, and then from that point on, it was our guys played extremely hard. It was kind of like it was a bunch of sharks out there, and there was blood in the water, and they kind of went after it, and that was the thing that we talked about all week is being physical, and because that Northwest historically that's what they do. Is they're going to run the football and play action pass and make it a physical football game. And I thought our guys accepted that challenge, and the defensive coaches did a great job of game planning. Coach Gordon and Coach Buck and Coach Johnson, they did a great job with getting the guys to play that way.
And, there were several impact players there. I think the ones that really stood out, you talked about Javon already, 7 total tackles, led the team in tackles, had 2 forced turnovers, had the forced fumble, then had an interception later and had a pass breakup, a real big pass breakup. He just had probably his best game of the year, and when he needed it, he had it.
He played really well, and like I said, he's had a stretch of games where he's tackled really well, and and there was one play that sticks out in my mind. The ball bounces toward the northwest sideline. He comes up and makes a tackle for maybe a 1-yard gain, and if he hadn't have made a tackle, it was probably a big run. But that's what he was supposed to be there for too.
And you had Colin McGowan, had 6 total tackles. He had a sack. He had a really big game. Another one that stands out, we've talked about him all year, Caden Dukes. Mm-hmm. Caden had 5 total tackles. He had 1 interception and then had almost another one, full extension, full layout. We thought up in the press box he had it, and then we saw it roll around from him, so he had a pass breakup. But both of them just had really big games for you as well, too.
That's kind of what our defense does, is it makes the ball bounce to the safeties, and those guys have done a great job tackling all year and being in the right places.
And I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that Brandon Gillum, I think, also had a really good game. Was 2 for 3 in field goals. I thought he made the one that he missed, but 6 for 6 on extra points and was solid in both the kicking and punting games as well, too.
He was. Brandon's been steady all year, and that's the biggest thing is I thought when we had him is that he would be consistent, and he's been that all year long.
And one thing we also want to mention, we do want to congratulate Johnny Daniels, Jerron Manning, and Brandon Gillum. They were named the Offense, Defense, and Special Teams Players of the Week by the conference earlier today, respectively, in those aspects. So we'll run to the scoring summary. And like we said, it got started off fast. First quarter, opening kickoff, Jerron Manning pops the returner. Looked like after he kind of stumbled, messed around with the ball, fumbled it around a little bit. You get that fumble, you recover it. LaKendrick James is Johnny on the spot there for you, and you get the drive, and you end up getting points out of it. Right. It's a 31-yard field goal from Gillum, but the big thing was that you converted the turnover into points. Talk about that opening drive.
Yeah, I mean we obviously wanted to get a touchdown, but it was big, get points, and it was a great start to the game, and we had a penalty. I think kind of got us behind the sticks in the drive, and that's something we've got to kind of eliminate in this next game.
So it's 13:47. You're up 3-0, and then you turn around a little bit later in the first quarter after Caden Dukes gets his interception on a ball that he just masterfully. It was just a great pick. I thought the quarterback never saw him, and he just reached out there and grabbed it. Johnny Daniels gets his first of 4 touchdowns, a 9-yard rush. That capped off a 4-play, 29-yard drive after the interception returned by Caden. Talk about the drive. Talk about, I think on that one, Johnny just kind of found the hole and was able to kind of squiggle through it.
It was a tempo play, and I think, Johnny hugged it in there, and the guy got upfield, and he was able to get underneath him and didn't get, like I say, it was one of those plays, didn't get touched until he got close to the goal line.
And so it's 10-0. You've got 7:46 left in the first quarter, and you're kind of thinking maybe you're going to really start running away with it. Maybe this is the day when the Rangers just don't have it. But both defenses really just kind of locked in and settled in, and there's no more scoring until the second quarter. And this is the biggest run of the day, biggest run of the year for Johnny, biggest run of his career. It's a career-long 88-yard rush touchdown. He broke through the defensive line and got to where the linebackers were. Nobody touched him, and we called it in the press box. We said he's going. It's a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the inside zone, and like I say, the lineman blocked it up really well, and nobody touched him. I mean, he just popped through there, and it's one of those plays that he gets in the secondary. He has a chance to score every time.
And Gillum makes the PAT at 17-0 with 7:26 left in the second quarter. And you get the ball back pretty pretty quickly again. Another forced turnover. This time, Mekhi Mayweather forces a fumble after a little completion. I think the Rangers had ran it 2 or 3 yards, and Mekhi popped the guy, and like Kendrick James, Johnny on the spot again, recovers the ball at the 16-yard line. Just talk about it really felt like that was, outside of the first play of the game, that really felt like a big turning point as well, too.
It was. I mean, got a chance to add to it and have a short field to score in. And, anytime you have that, that's, just keeps putting pressure on the defense. And, eventually, you hope that they're going to, break down or give up a play here or there. And I think that's kind of what started happening after that.
And so you get the ball on the 16-yard line. 4 plays later, Johnny scores 6-yard touchdown rush, his third of the first half, and you're up 24-0 at that point. You've got 4:48 left. This is Northwest scores their first touchdown with 1:44 left, but you're still up 24-7 at half. What's the message to the guys going into halftime?
Well, Northwest, the previous 2 ball games, they had been down at halftime and came back and won the games at kind of at the end. And, we wanted to make sure we challenged our kids to remind them of, what had happened, that they were a second half football team. And we wanted to make sure that we answered and, that we put the thing away. And
then you turn around in the third quarter, Northwest forces a 3-and-out by your offense, and then they score on their first possession. It's 24-14 with 7:12 left. And I think the good thing is that the guys responded. You got a field goal, 33-yard field goal, capped off the longest play in terms of numbers of plays, 10-play, 49-yard drive. Made it 27-14 with 1:31 left. Talk about how big it was, kind of knowing you've got probably going to the fourth quarter, and it's a 2-possession game at that point.
Well, we always talk about answering plays or answering drives. Whatever side of the ball, it comes up to. If the offense turns it over, defense got to go back out there and get it. And if defense gives up something, offense got to go do it and score. And I think that's kind of the way our season's gone all year. The kids have bought into that, and they've answer plays or answer drives, and that's kind of what happened there.
And in the fourth quarter, it's really just a 21-point explosion for your team. Defense turned into offense, and everything worked well for you. You start off the quarter, and Devon throws the interception, and they get into the plus side of the field, but Chris Burnett just makes a great interception there. He really looked like the receiver on that play, and that gave you the ball on the 5-yard line, so you're kind of thinking there's a little bit of dangerous territory, but that really felt like, again, another big momentum-shifting play.
It was. I mean, anytime you can go out and answer and take the ball back, and regardless of where it is, and we always work on coming out and making sure we at least make a first down. And Trey Minor had a really big run in that drive to get a first down to get us off the goal line.
And so on that drive, it's capped off. Johnny gets his 4th rushing touchdown, a 15-yard rush, capped off a 7-play, 95-yard drive. PAT made it 34-14 with 8:37 left. And literally the next play that the Rangers have, it's another interception, and this time it's Jerron Manning. And Jerron gives you the ball on the 35-yard line. And then 2 plays later, Devon on it looked like a little quarterback read keeper, scampers in from 35 yards out, basically untouched. Just talk about those 2 plays, and really they felt like those were the ones that really sealed everything.
Yeah, Jerron's play was a really good play, and then Devon's run. They had started trying to chase the ball down from behind, and he happened to pull it on the play, and there was nobody there for him to squeeze scrape and take him. And Jalen Smith did a great job blocking the DB down there right around the 2 or 3 yard line, and Devon finished it off with getting it in the end zone.
And then, of course, your last touchdown comes it's a defensive touchdown. The defense has forced all these turnovers. They finally get in on the scoring themselves. Malachi Williams is just kind of a ball that tips off the Rangers receiver, and it just goes to him right there on the 49-yard line. 49 yards later, it's a pick 6. That just at that point, you kind of know the game's in hand, but it just really felt good to be able to see a hometown kid make a big play at such a big time.
Malachi's made plays like that all year for us. I mean, he's a tremendous football player, and he's going to be a really, really good football player before he leaves here.
And so the Wolves' defense, last 2 drives for the Rangers, only allows them 19 yards. You're able to finish out the game, getting every coach's favorite position formation and finish it out. But next up, we know who's coming. And it's the East Mississippi Lions. They're number 5 in the nation now, and 2 teams. They know you know each other at this point.
Yeah.
But what are you expecting out of this game? I know it's the first time that the Wolves have been in it since 2014, so it's just a special time to be a Wolf fan and those kind of things. But what are you expecting out of that game?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a hard-fought game. I mean, they're extremely hard to beat at home. We'll have to go there and play our best and play smart and do the same kind of things we did this past week. And we'll get their very best, and hopefully we're going to give them our very best, and we'll hopefully come out on top.
And so, we all know Wolves win that one, you get a championship, but you also get a chance to do something you haven't done before and make it to the national playoffs as well, too. So lots of, outside of the fact of one of the best seasons in school history, you still have a lot more history to play for as well, too, outside of winning the championship. So, Coach, good luck this upcoming week, and we hope we're talking about a championship when we come back after the Thanksgiving break. So that will wrap up our show this week. Just as a reminder, everybody, we won't have the Coaches Show next week. Co-Lin is closed for Thanksgiving, but we still have a lot of action this week. The Lady Wolves have played in the Southwest Coca-Cola Classic, playing against LSU Eunice and Southern Shreveport. You've got the men's basketball team on the road at Delgado on Saturday at 4 p.m. And then the big football game, the MACCC Championship between the number 4 Wolves and the number 5 Lions in Scuba on Saturday at 2. We'll see you then. We'll have the call for you on CoLinAthletics.com, but we hope you're there in person to cheer on the Wolves. I'm Kevin Kaiser, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.